Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's the 2nd of March, 2021. I'm Roy Potter, and I decided I'd put this up this morning. I have a couple of things I thought were important to bring out. Hello, as you come in. Now, I'm out in the bright sunshine. I'm not going to be able to see your chats very well. As a matter of fact, I've got a glare from a car right over here shining right in my eyes, so that's going to make it even more difficult. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what's happening there in the area of Ur, of Babylon, of Iraq, and basically this is kind of a follow up on my video from last night. In the description box, there are two links. One is I told you last night that a lot of this that's happening in Babylon area and Ur in Iraq is very much Catholicism oriented as far as the doctrine and that as to what's going on. But you can't dismiss the fact that the Roman Catholic Church has a very specific, defined purpose in these times. It definitely has an end times uh, relevant relevancy. Let me put it that way, okay? And whether or not you're into the Catholic Church or how you feel about it, I don't think that historically or where we are today, historically and politically, you can dismiss the Catholic Church as not having any kind of a, like I said, an end times relevancy. So it's important to know what's going on there. The Pope is a political as well as religious figure in the world. He has a great deal of influence, and what's happening there is going to impact everyone. Okay? So, regardless of how you feel about Catholicism, please look at this and give it some consideration, especially with what's probably going to happen very soon, okay, with all the things that I've talked about. Again, in the description box is some information that'll kind of round it out for you. Amy did get up a short video last night. It is in the description box. I talked about her before. She's talking about the Pope at Ur. And also, there is a Roman Catholic Dr. Marshall Taylor that I've also put in the description box below. So it'll give you a little bit more background information so that you can kind of understand what's going on. I won't comment much more on that here now, other than to say that this do not take what's going to happen with the Pope in Iraq and at the Ur area lightly. I really believe, because of all that I've studied, that this has some direct impact on how the New World Order is coming about, and of course, the beast from the sea and the beast from the earth, and how it ties in with Donald Trump. What we saw at CPAC further solidified my concerns about Donald Trump. There are a lot of people following him blindly or wanting to have hope in him. And I'm sorry, but it's just not there. It just isn't. At least not in my estimation. If you want to believe that, that's fine. But I have to make sure that I shout from the housetops that this is very, very bad what's going on, especially his push on the on the particular medical practice that he's talking about. Okay, and you all know what I mean. I can't be too forthright on that here on YouTube. Along with that, I'm becoming more concerned. You know, I've had, I shouldn't even bring this up, but Alex Jones is disappointing me more and more. I'm basically turning him off because at this point, everything he says about the dystopic present and future has all been true. It's all been true, but who is he pushing us toward? I know he mentions Jesus Christ. I know he does, but he just will not. And he's also said that Trump made a mistake on this medical procedure. I understand that, but I'm sorry, Trump isn't the answer, and to be used by the powers that be is the way I look at it now, to push people towards Trump. I'm sorry, but Alex is he's got to repent. I'm sorry. The rest of his message is being used to drive people towards Trump, and that's, in my estimation, a big mistake at this point. You all know why. If you've been following me for the last, well, especially the last 3 years, you should know, and I'm not going to use this to explain that, okay? What I do want to do is bring up a little situation about uh, where the people are right now, why I'm concerned about what Alex is doing, and a lot of other conservatives, which I won't mention here, but that I've had run-ins with, particularly since Trump left office, and how stiff-necked the American people, and as a matter of fact, Christians, everybody is, okay? I mean, there are large swaths of Christians and conservatives and constitutionalists, etc., that see what's going on and aren't buying into this whole drama. But unfortunately, many are. And I follow Pastor Chuck Baldwin quite a bit. Maybe some of you know who he is. If you don't, you can look him up on a search engine. He has a YouTube channel where he teaches at his church, and they post those. Again, it's Dr. Or Pastor Chuck Baldwin. He is a doctor too, not a medical doctor, I don't think, but he is Pastor Chuck Baldwin. So you can go look at his things. In this last Sunday, he gave a sermon about the situation with the people turning on those who are trying to bring them liberty, who are defending them. And the story that he tells is about Moses, when Moses started to realize about his roots, and he went out to be amongst his people, and he saw a taskmaster beating up, I guess almost to the point of death, an Israelite slave, right? And so Moses went to defend that Israelite slave, killed the Egyptian taskmaster, okay, and then buried his body in the sand and looked around and thought nobody saw what was going on. Well, the guy he saved probably went and told everybody what happened. Moses was trying to keep it under wraps. But then shortly after that, he saw two Israelite men in some kind of a contention, some type of a combat. And he came in there and he tried to keep them from doing this to each other. And one of them accused him of killing that other Egyptian taskmaster, and if he was going to do the same thing to those two Israelites. In other words, the Israelite, rather than realizing that Trump was defending them, then was accusing him of going to kill them. Do you see how that works? Well, go look at the sermon and you'll see what I'm talking about. And that's what we're seeing today. The people that are out there warning the people about the enemies in government, about this tyrannical situation, this takeover, a lot of us are being turned on by the very people we're trying to protect. I see it not just in my acquaintances and generally online on YouTube, on Twitter. I get it even from family members. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to go into a lunch here with some very good friends that I have before, and I'm not going to be wearing a mask. And I know that it's going to cause a problem, but I just have to make the statement, okay, just to show you. And it's going to cause a problem. But we're right, they're wrong, okay? So that's how you have to look at it. Well, let me read a couple of scriptures. I'm going to be reading out of Exodus 16, chapter 16, verse 3, chapter 17, verse 3, and then Isaiah 30, basically verses 8 to 15. And you might wonder why I'm doing this. I'm trying to show you again that people don't want their freedom. Almost as soon as the Israelites were led out of Egypt by Moses, they started to complain and wanted to go back into their slavery rather than experience the responsibility of liberty. Let me read these to you. Just be real short. First, Exodus 16:3. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. In other words, they're accusing Moses and Aaron of leading them out of Egypt by the Lord. They admitted that, but that now they have to worry about the responsibility of liberty, that they'd rather be back in their slavery. Do you see how that applies, especially to what Chuck Baldwin was talking about this last weekend? Now, verse 3 in chapter 17, so the next chapter over, verse 3 there. And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses, and said, Wherefore is that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? Do you not see that these same arguments are being made by the masses against those who are teaching about the true principles of liberty? It's still happening. It's still happening. And people will say, well, gee, if we had been back in Moses' day, we would have seen all these things and we would have done the right thing. No, they're not. They're not doing the right thing. Let me go to Isaiah chapter 30, verses 8 to 15. Yes, this is a sermon of sorts, but I want to show you that historically, politically, these things keep happening over and over. So there are principles that you need to learn in the scriptures that tell you about man and about the law of liberty and about how this problem with men never seems to change and that you have to look for that change in yourself. Let me read this, chapter 30 of Isaiah, verses 8 to 15. Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, see not, to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. I have quoted that so many times about how these people are today. They want to be told lies. They thirst for lies. They make lies, they love lies, and they thirst for lies. Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. We want to go back to the way it was. Lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon, therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. And he shall break it as the breaking of the potter's vessel that is broken in pieces. He shall not spare. This is what's coming. So that there shall not be found in the bursting of a sherd to take fire from the hearth, or it to take water withal out of the pit. For thus saith the Lord God, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, and ye would not. Again, that's Isaiah chapter 30, verses 8 to 15. I suggest you go read that and ponder that along with what I read earlier, Exodus 16:3 and Exodus 17:3. We're doing this, our entire societies, especially in the Western nations, are guilty of this right now. Right now. And we're looking to these men like Trump to save us, and all they're doing is selling us down the river and enslaving us more. I have to yell loud because there's a lot of noise out here. I'm not upset. I'm not sure how the sound is working here. Hopefully it's doing okay. Let me mention a couple of other things, okay? Because this is kind of important. Just like I said about Alex Jones a few minutes ago, there's a lot of ramping up of this dystopia right now. The revealing of the dystopia, and a lot of that's scriptural, right? That the mystery of iniquity will be revealed, and I know there's some parameters on that, which I think are actually occurring right now. But the point is that we're seeing these things. But why is the evil side allowing itself to be revealed? So it will cause us to be more helpless, more hopeless, so that we look to men to save us rather than going inside to God. And if you don't want to believe in God, that's fine, but at least don't trust these men out there who are going to sell you and betray you. So don't look for an exterior savior in somebody like Trump or Macron or any of these guys. Look what's happening in Israel right now. They're selling they escaped Germany where they said that they were badged, and now they're badging them in Israel. I'm using other words so that I don't get in trouble with YouTube. I hope you understand. What a tyranny they're having in Israel, and it's coming here. It's already started. Couple more things and then I'll go. Our children are enduring a psychological warfare attack upon them. I'd like to talk about that in even more depth and breadth, but I can't because I'd have to do it on the other channels. But they're attacking them psychologically. They're isolating them. They're putting them in virtual isolation confinement. That's what they're doing. And if you know anything about MK Ultra, etc., all these mind control techniques, just like they do in the military, they break you down. They make you part of a unit. You lose your individuality. You do as everybody else does, or you're punished. They break you psychologically so then they can mold you into what they want. Ladies and gentlemen, that's happening on a large scale right now, and it's been happening for a long time. But it's happened even in communities, and that's all I'm going to say at this point. Even communities. A lot of those communities have been involved in some very serious things in the last decade or two, and it's always been chalked up to some lone wolf. No. It's called sacrifice to Moloch, to Baal. That's all I'm going to say. Read between the lines. But they're doing that to us and our children in mass now because they're getting ready to reveal something really wicked, and a lot of people are evil, actually, and a lot of people are going to go with it so they can get permission to have their liberty. Let's see if I've got anything else here I need to say. I think I've said it all. I've got to get into my meeting if they'll let me into the building. Like I said, I'm not going to wear a mask. They'll probably tell me I got to go away. That's fine. I've been kicked out a lot of places. Again, I would like to, let's see, how much longer till we can't grocery shop without X? They're trying to push that right now everywhere. And I really can't tell you. All I can tell you is that that's what's coming, okay? The entire situation is coming. You're already seeing it with the face shields, okay? You're already seeing it. I'm going to be a victim of it here probably in just a few minutes of their dystopic tyrannies. But we have to be willing to take a stand. All right. That's all I got. Again, in the description box below, I don't have Chuck Baldwin's sermon. Go look it up. It's the one he gave this last Sunday, February 28th. Chuck Baldwin. I think it's Liberty Ministry, I think is the name of it. Something like that. But if you look up Chuck Baldwin, you'll find it. I wish I'd had the link in the description box, but I just didn't get it. But in the description box is Amy's explanation of the Pope's visit to Ur, and just as importantly, Dr. Marshall Taylor's information from a Catholic point of view. Very, very important. Thank you. Chuck Baldwin, Liberty Fellowship. Thank you, whoever put that up. I really can't see it, but that's great. Yeah, Roy, you mean the satanic face diapers. Yes, exactly. Okay. Trump is responsible for this. He's the one that backed it. And people can say he didn't know what he was doing, that he was surrounded with traitors, whatever. But it goes back to what I said before. The man has no principles of good. He has principles of evil. And now we have this Biden character in there who's a mindless I better not say too many things that I'd like to. But this was all, nobody can tell me that this wasn't planned. And it's all pushing all those people on the Christian conservative side, constitutional side, even closer to Trump. And something's up this week. The date of March 5th, and especially the 6th, is very important because it's halfway from the Revelation 13 sign. It's like I said, we're about halfway through the trib. It's not always linear. I've told you, it's circular. It's not linear. Events are more important than the timing. But the two are pretty much matching up at this point. And if these things happen this weekend, like I'm anticipating they will, and you can go listen again down below to get the particulars, you're going to have to figure out a way to get out of Babylon the best you can. All right, I got to go. See how this turns out. All right. Okay, let me see if I can turn this off without making a mess. You all take care. We'll talk to you later out here.